Picture your own arm, right now torn open, no hospital, no stitches, no antiseptic, no bandage, no painkillers, just you bleeding somewhere in the middle of absolutely nowhere, with nothing between you and infection except whatever your own body can figure out on its own. For almost every other animal on Earth, a wound like that is often a slow, quiet death sentence. Infection sets in. Movement becomes impossible. The predator that didn't kill you the first time gets a second chance. Now here's the claim this entire video is going to make, and I want you to sit with it for a second, because it sounds much bigger than it should. The first scar a human ever survived might be one of the most important events in the entire history of our species. Not the wound, not the pain, the healing. Because surviving that wound required something almost no other animal on the planet reliably gets: someone else choosing to help. That's the argument. Let's build the case. Before we get to why this matters, it helps to understand what's actually happening on your skin. A scar isn't your skin repairing itself back to normal. It's your body giving up on that idea entirely and building something faster and cruder instead. When skin is damaged deeply enough, the body floods the area with a tough, fibrous protein called collagen, laid down quickly and messily, in tangled bundles instead of the neat, organized pattern your original skin was built with. That's why a scar looks and feels different forever. It's not inferior skin. It's patched skin, structurally sound, but permanently marked by the fact that something went wrong here once. Which means every scar is, biologically speaking, a written record. A permanent note left in your own body saying, "This happened, and I made it through." Your ancient ancestors carried these same notes. And the story behind their very first ones is far more dramatic than anything happening on your arm today. Here's the first piece of evidence for the argument. In the natural world, severe injury is often fatal, not because the wound itself is unsurvivable, but because of everything that follows it. Infection, inability to hunt or gather, inability to keep up with the group, vulnerability to predators while healing. A badly injured animal, alone, is usually a dead animal. Nature is not gentle about this, which makes it genuinely strange that the fossil and archaeological record contains something it arguably shouldn't. Ancient human remains showing evidence of severe injuries that clearly healed. Broken bones set correctly. Serious wounds that closed and mended. In some documented cases, evidence of individuals surviving injuries so severe, including partial limb loss, that survival without sustained help from others would have been essentially impossible. Think about what that actually requires. Someone hurt badly enough that they cannot hunt, cannot gather, and cannot defend themselves, being fed anyway. Protected anyway, given time to heal, at real cost to a group that needed every capable hand it had. That's not an accident of nature, that's a decision. This is the center of the whole argument. Other animals do sometimes show basic care for injured group members, but the sustained, deliberate, resource-costly care implied by these ancient healed injuries, feeding someone who cannot feed themselves, protecting someone who cannot move quickly for however long it took, is something remarkably rare across the animal kingdom. Ancient humans did this, repeatedly, consistently enough that it shows up again and again in the physical evidence we've actually found. Which means somewhere back at the very beginning of that pattern, there had to be a first time. A first injury, a first moment where a group looked at someone who had become, in every practical sense, a liability and chose to carry that cost anyway. We will never know exactly who that person was or what actually happened to them. But we know, with real confidence, that moments like this happened because we can see the evidence of the healing still written into ancient bone. That first act of care didn't just save one person. It planted something in the species that never really left. Here's the part of the argument that ties everything together. Long before language, long before any system of writing, a scar was already doing something remarkable. It was recording an event permanently on the body of the person it happened to, visible to everyone in the group forever. A scar couldn't be argued with, couldn't be exaggerated in the retelling around a fire. It was just there. Undeniable. A physical fact that said, without a single word, something happened to this person and they survived it, which makes a scar, in a very real sense, one of the earliest forms of information a human body could carry. not written, not spoken, just permanently physically true. Every scar on every ancient body was a small, wordless piece of history, proof of an encounter, a mistake, an accident, an attack, survived and carried forward for as long as that person lived. And every single one of them, if we trace the pattern back far enough, connects to the same underlying event. Somebody got hurt, and somebody else decided that mattered. So let's return to the claim we opened with and check it against everything we've actually built. Is the first scar really one of the most important events in human history? By itself, no single scar changed anything, but the pattern behind it, injury followed by deliberate, costly, sustained care from others, is a pattern our species leaned on constantly, repeatedly for our entire existence. It shows up written directly into ancient bone over and over, far too consistently to be coincidence. A species that reliably cares for its wounded is a species that can take more risks, hunt more dangerous animals, explore harsher, less forgiving environments, recover from mistakes that would have permanently ended a less cooperative group. That capacity, quiet, unglamorous, and completely undocumented in words, may have mattered just as much to human survival as fire, or tools, or language ever did. It just happened to leave its evidence somewhere much quieter, written directly into skin. So picture that arm again. The one we opened with torn open, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, with nothing standing between that wound and disaster except whatever the people nearby decided to do about it. Somebody stayed, somebody helped, and the skin closed, imperfectly, permanently, into a mark that would never fully disappear. That mark wasn't a flaw. It was proof that somebody chose to help long before there was any language to explain why, any religion to demand it, or any law to require it. Just people deciding another person mattered enough to save. Look down at your own arm right now. Somewhere on it or somewhere on someone you love, there's very likely a mark just like that one. Small, permanent, and quietly proving the exact same thing all over again. We've been doing this since the very beginning. Slow down. Think a little.